Okay, this is Jackson's presentation. We have
Brenda Callahan.
1,
Jerry Thurman.
2,
Catherine Hogan.
3,
David Byers.
4.
Connie Byers.
Don Morrow.
Okay, I lost count.
Tyler Blaylock.
7.
Sandra Thurman.
Okay,
Carnes White.
I don't think I got you. There you go.
Lynn Cetus.
And-
Jane Hubble.
And I'm Jane Hilda Scharsch.
The weather is getting warmer, and that is a welcome change. One thing that is a sign of summer is a Jeep. Most of us think of a Jeep as a fun and sporty vehicle. Enzo Ferrari once said the Jeep is the only true American sports car. What many people don't know is the origin of the Jeep is rooted deep in American history. My name is Jackson Scharsch. Jeeps are my passion. I'm also a Jeep owner. Today I will tell you about the history of the Jeep. For 4,000 years, the horse was the main source of transportation in war for soldiers. Although they were good transportation vehicles, they had too many problems. Like they had to be fed, trained, groomed, and worst of all, they could die and leave you stranded without any transportation whatsoever. So the military tried to make something in 1937 to replace the horse called the snake in the grass, where the driver laid on it and drove, and it had a passenger with the machine gun. But it wasn't very good. The only positive thing about it was that it couldn't be seen by the enemy in the grass. And it had too low of ground clearance, and it couldn't navigate through rough terrain that well, so they called it the belly flop because it wasn't any good. Then in July 11th, 1940, the Army submitted requirements for Army vehicles to U.S. automotive manufacturers. They had 49 days to complete them. The 3 companies that submitted bids were Willys Overland, Bantam Automotive, and Ford Motor Company. Bantam received the contract and worked around the clock for 5 weeks. They created a vehicle known as the BRC Bantam. It was, what that stands for is Bantam Reconnaissance Vehicle. Reconnaissance is a vehicle defined as a military scouting vehicle. It was 4-wheel drive, and the engine design allowed it to pull half of its weight. Bantam delivered the vehicle to the U.S. Army Test Center, Camp Holabird, Maryland. And this is a picture of it right here. But unfortunately, they didn't have enough employees to produce it, so they ended up giving the contract to Ford and Willys to produce it. So they didn't even get to make it. Then on November 1941, the first 16,000 vehicles rolled off Ford and Willys Overland's assembly line. Because it was a general purpose vehicle, or GP, they decided it was given the name Jeep. Many names were suggested for the vehicle, but they decided to go with the name Jeep. Here's a picture of the original one produced by Willys and Ford, and then this one is modified like by the military to suit their needs. In December 1941, America went to war, and the Jeep went with her. The Jeep received a lot of publicity during the wartime. It gained attention and became popular, and Willys began testing civilian versions because of the popularity, because of the war and stuff. The CJ of the 1940s. The first CJ created in 1945 was, the reason it's called CJ is because that stands for Civilian Jeep. According to Jeep.com, the purpose of the CJ was to put workhorses out to pasture, and they made it like to where you could put farm and industrial equipment like hooked up to it. So basically you could use it like a tractor and then drive it to town if you needed to. And this is a picture of the first CJ called the CJ2A. Then due to the popularity of this one, Willys decided to make a Willys wagon, which is more like a family vehicle, but it could also be used as a work vehicle. It was created in 1946. It had a fold-down tailgate, and Consumer Reports on October 1950 issue, they said Willys wagon used as it is intended to be used, has no equal in its field. It is a working car and it does its work well. Then, due to the popularity of this one, they decided to make a more sporty one called the Jeepster. It was created in 1948 and called the ultimate family vehicle. It had a 6-cylinder Hurricane engine, and it was the first Jeep that wasn't four-wheel drive. It was also the first Jeep marketed suitable for women drivers. Then that brings us to Jeeps of the 1950s. The two best known Jeeps of the 1950s were the CJ5 and the CJ6. The CJ5 was designed to be better than all other CJs. It was stronger, more versatile, and better off-road. It also was equipped with a 6-cylinder engine. It looks a lot like the original CJ2A, but they just made it better, basically. And due to the popularity, it was the longest produced Jeep for 30 years. Then you got the CJ6, which is basically a CJ5 with the longer wheelbase. And wheelbase is defined as the distance between the front and rear axle. The reason they made it longer was because it met consumer demands for more passenger space and space to carry other stuff, as you can see in this picture where it's longer in the back. It was better than the CJ5 because it had heavier duty axles, bigger brakes, and a wider track. Like the CJ5, it was also equipped with a 6-cylinder engine. Then Jeeps of the 1960s. Many new Jeeps were produced in the 60s. The Fleet Van, the Jeep Gladiator J-Series trucks, the M17 Jeep, the Jeepster Commando station wagon, convertible, and pickup. But the most popular was the Jeep Wagoneer. According to Jeep.com, in the 60s, it was the father of all luxury 4x4 SUVs. It was popular because it combined the capability of a 4-wheel drive with that of a luxury car. And it made it like good off-road, like the Willys wagon, but it was also comfortable for long drives. Oh, and 4x4 is another term for 4-wheel drive. And SUV stands for it stands for sports utility vehicle. Now Jeeps of the 1970s. Several other versions of the Jeep were created in the 70s. The DJ Jeep, also known as the Dispatcher Jeep, which was used by the U.S. Postal Service. The J10 and 20 pickup trucks. But most widely recognized was the CJ5 Renegade, Jeep Cherokee, and CJ7. The CJ5 Renegade was different from that of the CJ5 because it had the limited slip differential and came stock with a roll bar. It also had different cosmetic features like stickers and fender flares. Then the Jeep Cherokee was a sportier version of the Wagoneer. It won 4-Wheel Drive Magazine's Achievement Award as 4-Wheeler of the Year. And it also came in 2 different body styles. The CJ7 was different than the CJ5 because it had a longer wheelbase, which allowed space for automatic transmission. And it had squared off doors, and due to the popularity of the CJ7, they quit making the CJ5. And that's a picture of it right there. Then Jeeps of the 80s. First, there's the CJ8 Scrambler, and it was unique because the front half was a Jeep and the back was like the truck bed basically. And it had a 103-inch wheelbase, and it had more cargo space with rear overhang. It came with a 6-cylinder engine too, and you could choose it in a hard or soft top. It gained publicity because Ronald Reagan drove one on television. Then there's the Jeep Cherokee XJ. It was 21 inches shorter, 6 inches narrow, and 4 inches lower, and 1,000 pounds lighter than the full-size Wagoneer. It had part-time and full-time 4-wheel drive capability. It came in a 4 or 6-cylinder engine, and it was the only SUV at the time to offer 2 or 4-door option. 14 models of the Cherokees have been developed throughout the years. Then there's the Jeep YJ, which was produced a year after Chrysler bought Jeep from the company AMC, which stands for American Motor Company. It replaced the CJ series. It had a wider track, angle grille, and square headlights. It also had a more comfy, modern interior. Then there's the Jeeps of the 90s. The Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ. It replaced the Wagoneer as a mid-sized luxury SUV. It was the first to have a driver-sized airbag, and it set the standard for on-road comfort. It had a 105.9-inch wheelbase, and there was also an option for a V8 engine. Then there's the Jeep Wrangler TJ, which combined excellent off-road handling and legendary off-road capabilities. It was built to look like the old CJ7, although 80% of the parts were newly designed. It had new quadricoil suspension that made on-road driving better, increased ground clearance, and also had some classic features like round headlights, a fold-down windshield, and doors that you could take off. It also had the choice of a hard or soft top, and it came with a factory-fitted roll bar. Many aftermarket parts are now available for the Jeep TJ. Then that brings us to Jeeps of the 2000s. Many more modern versions of the Jeep continue to be created. There is a Jeep for every style, need, and personality. The 2000s saw the introduction of the following smaller models: the Jeep Liberty, the Jeep Compass, the Jeep Patriot, and the Jeep Renegade, which is named after the old Renegade. And in conclusion, as you can see, the Jeep is much more than that of a summer vehicle. I hope next time you see a Jeep, you remember that it got its start in the history of our country. Thank you.
Very good.
Very good.
We're all still here. Here to show that we're all still here. Very good.
Nobody's asleep.
Nobody went to sleep. Nobody got bored.
Dottie, you
Okay.
still got your